can't help but think that now might be a good time for a little fire and ice. These fools do not
There
know.
is never a good time for fire and ice.
What happens when you mix fire and ice?
Warm water, baby.
It's bubbling, baby. Warm water. Warm water.
It is time for a little fire and ice. We are live over here at Union Drafthouse, 730 Sunland Park, in the parking lot of Sunland Park Mall over here on the west side. Brandon's a happy guy. He didn't have to drive all that far to come on out here. We got our guy David hanging out with us. We got family, and everybody's out here having a good old time. Yeah. I got my Yingling going. Brandon's got his water because he's a upstanding human being and a good individual. Cheers. Meanwhile, I'm a huge piece of shit.
His designated drivers.
That's right. There we go.
That's right. Crazy if the show doesn't go the way you think.
There we go. The designated drivers are going to drive me crazy.
Drive you crazy.
I feel like that's going to be the statement of the day. Brandon, a lot of stuff for us to talk about. The NFL Hall of Fame was announced. NBA trade deadline was announced. It feels like we're about to OD on sports. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the biggest game of them all, the Super Bowl, happening tomorrow. As a matter of fact, you can come out here to Union Drafthouse. First come, first serve. They've got the Super Bowl ready for you tomorrow. And tonight, Brandon, a little UFC action as well.
The UFC 284, big card. And the best part is here is it's no cover. So you come and get your seat and have a little nosh and have some of one of the 100 beers they have on tap here and enjoy yourself. And it is a huge sports day, huge sports week. Huge.
All the sports are happening this week.
This is very phenomenal.
Okay, so let's get into it, Brandon. Last week, we got to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl, kind of, thinking about stuff. We are now hours away. It's right around the corner. Looking at everything we know now, Patrick Mahomes seems like he's going to be healthy. The Kelsey brothers are there with their mom, and she has no idea who she's cheering for. Who do you think is going to win this game, Brandon? The biggest of them all, the big game, the bowl of superiority. Who is going to win?
I still am sticking with Philadelphia, and I'm sticking with Philadelphia for three reasons, okay? Number one, I feel that they have the defense to get it done. I feel their defense has been putting a tremendous amount of pressure on opponents lately, and I figure they've been, creating turnovers, and they've been rolling as of the last month. And, of course, secondly, I mean, they do have an amazing offensive line. I feel they do have an abundance of weapons. And lastly, I just kind of, you see a team that you kind of feel is due, and I think that they're just due right now, and they've gotten everything, the stars of the line, and come together for them at the right time. And I mean, sure, they had that little drought where Hurts was out for about a month or whatnot, they lost a couple of games, but they've gotten that out of their systems, and they've rolled into the Super Bowl. And I mean, I'm hoping it's a close, good, competitive game, nothing worse than a bad blowout Super Bowl. I do feel both of these teams are just, equally 1 and 1A ultimately in terms of talent. But I still got to go with Philadelphia. I still think the Eagles are going to win this one.
And what you have are two different styles of play. You've got the, because of medical necessity, passing game of Patrick Mahomes versus the highly optional running game of Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. You also have a 49ers coach who knows the inside story of the Philadelphia Eagles, who has the potential to outcoach them because he's familiar with what's in their playbook.
Good point.
That, and he also has the ability to quickly see how the Eagles may change what they're doing and coach his staff to adapt.
Yeah, I mean, all valid points, Daver. Absolutely. Tip.
You're drunk. I thought that I was going to be the one that was drunk. I'm like 17 beers deep into this right now. I know Daver's a Philadelphia Eagles fan. I know Brandon is going for the Philadelphia Eagles. I am not ever. I'm treating Patrick Mahomes the same way I'm treating Tom Brady. I'm not picking against those two individuals at any point in time, as long as they are breathing, right? Like Patrick or Tom Brady could be retired for 5 years, come out and say, I want to play again, and he will win the first game as far as I'm concerned because it's Tom effing Brady, right? So you got Patrick effing Mahomes taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. The more I'm looking at this, the more I'm like, okay, Andy Reid, you're giving him 2 weeks to game plan here against a defense that is susceptible to the pass, against the greatest quarterback, arguably, that we have all seen. It's 5 years into his career, and we can say that without a shadow of doubt, one of the greatest, if not the greatest quarterback we have ever seen. Brandon, it's so hard for me to say, okay, maybe Philadelphia can win because I think Philadelphia's a great team.
Yeah.
I think whenever it comes to balance, they're the most balanced team in the NFL. But the one weakness they have is their passing defense, and that is the biggest strength of the Kansas City Chiefs. So now you've got the Chiefs being able to exploit what Philadelphia has the worst of. Maybe Philadelphia could run the ball on Kansas City because that's what Philly's going to want to have to do. They got to establish a run before they can do anything else. But I think Philly can say, you know what? With our guys and the weapons that we just had to do, look who we had to beat. They had to beat Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and the other third receiver. I can't think of his name off the top of my head right now. Higgins, there we go, T. Higgins. Granted, yes, Higgins got hurt. They still have a great passing game there. The Bengals were unable to run the ball on them, and they were unable to get the big plays when they needed to. If you're Kansas City, you stack the box against Philly and say, yeah, you got Devontae Adams. Yeah, you've got A.J. Brown. Who's your third guy going to be? Because your third guy is going to be the one to beat us. Do you think it's going to be Dallas Goedert? Is Dallas Goedert going to be able to – I know he's good, but is he going to be able to be the guy that sustains and does all this stuff over and over again to make sure that you win the Super Bowl championship? And then is Dallas Goedert going to be the guy that's explosive enough for you to put up enough points with the Kansas City Chiefs?
And the one thing that Andy Reid has built with his staff is a sense of trust. For that reason, his 49ers will be willing to go above and beyond and be the necessary weapons that surrounds Patrick Mahomes. They'll be motivated to do so. And the way Andy Reid does that is he holds regular meetings, and he's very direct. He said, I'm opening up the floor to bitching. What needs to be changed? And when his players cite everything from meals to how practices are run, he's been able to change things immediately. Where do you find that level of trust? And once you have it, it's inevitable that they'll do even more than they have to protect Mahomes.
Clearly, from a coaching standpoint, I mean, Andy Reid, you definitely have to give him the edge. But, I mean, that's the thing about Mahomes is that, he certainly performed well in the AFC Championship game. Was he himself completely? No. Clearly, without a shadow of a doubt, he wasn't. But, again, how will these limitations affect his game tomorrow? To me, that's one of the biggest questions there right now.
I think all these limitations. Once again, I told you whenever the injury happened, just watching him walk around, watching him, go about his way. Patrick Mahomes with that ankle injury, it wasn't your typical, high ankle sprain where you're out 4 to 6 weeks or any of that stuff. Dude played the next game. He obviously was hobbled and all that, but it wasn't nearly as bad as what it could have been. Seeing what we've seen with high ankle sprains, either that or he's got an insane pain tolerance. And if he's got that, he's had 2 weeks to recover, and he's been doing a phenomenal job because he's still Patrick F. Mahomes with that cannon of an arm. So looking at everything that we've got, Brandon, you're still going to sit here and tell me you're leaning on the the Philadelphia Eagles to go out here, win this game over the Kansas City Chiefs, making sure that Patrick Mahomes doesn't become, in his first 5 years, a 2-time Super Bowl champion and a 2-time MVP. First off, you talk about a hell of a start to a career there.
Amazing.
A 2-time MVP
Amazing.
already,
Yeah.
And then going to be, or looking at a 2-time Super Bowl champion. This is going to be his 3rd Super Bowl.
And just how much that would mean to Patrick Mahomes would motivate him even further to work through whatever pain he has.
I don't think Mahomes is in it for all the individual accolades. You can see that. He's a team type of guy. Team first. Even his contract, even though it's huge, it's a team friendly contract.
And really, let's not forget, I think that people may be overlooking at times the fact that this team, and you felt that this was going to have a tremendous effect on them, they haven't missed a beat without the Cheetah. And who would have ever thought in a million years you're going to lose a weapon like Kill, one of the top 3 receivers in the league, and ultimately still be just as good, if not arguably better. And that starts with your quarterback. That starts with your coaching staff. That starts with the ability to do what so many people and organizations can't do, and that's adapt. And that's what makes the Chiefs so impressive. I mean, I could have never predicted they were going to be as good, if not better, and back in the Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill. No friggin' way. Yes, yeah. I know. I hear you.
At the beginning of the year, I told you there was not going to be any drop-off. They were going to be my Super Bowl contender still, and they are. I thought Philly was going to be great. I didn't think Philly was going to be this good, right?
Nobody did. Nobody figured.
And that's the thing, right? Whenever you're a sports fan, you always want to see the growth in your quarterback, right? we have seen exponential growth in Jalen Hurts being a guy that was a perennial MVP or looks like he's going to be a perennial MVP type candidate. And just looking at what he brings to the table, the explosiveness that he has. You look at him as like a running quarterback, and there's always these issues whenever you talk about, quarterbacks that run and do all this nonsense. The dude squats 600 pounds. He's not, he's not one of these, rail thin RG3 type guys. He's here. He's built to last. Philadelphia has a great offense on them, but the thing that you got to wonder with them is look at what they've got coming up, looking them, dead in the eyes right now. Devontae Smith is going to come up on a contract. Jalen Hurts is going to come up on a contract. When you look at Kansas City, even though they gave Patrick Mahomes that huge contract deal, they were still able to move money around, and they have what seems to be a perennial dynasty, right? 5 AFC championships, 3 Super Bowl appearances.
Amazing.
This team is built to last and built for the long haul, right?
Yes.
Can Philadelphia replicate that? Or is their window just this year, next year, and then it just shuts?
I think it's
because
impossible.
I'm looking at the other teams around in the NFC.
Yeah.
It's a different story if Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt.
Right.
Like
exactly.
there's a real possibility it could be San Francisco and not Philadelphia. If, the sun shines on a dog's ass that is the Dallas Cowboys, they might have an opportunity here. We're looking at a very competitive NFC.
I love that metaphor about the Cowboys.
Even the sun shines on a dog's ass, little white man can't jump.
The sun shines on a dog's ass every now and then.
Anyone
That's
can
the
win the
Dallas
lottery.
Cowboys, yeah.
Love that movie.
We've been waiting for 30 years on this one.
Yeah, keep waiting. I mean, honestly, I'll tell you what. Replicating what the Chiefs have done is damn near impossible in this day and age. And I'll say that for a couple of reasons. Number one, free agency. And last but not least, though, certainly is being able to find that quarterback that can be consistently good and one of the most elite quarterbacks that we've ever seen in this game. And, of course, you add the fact that you have one of the best coaches ever in Andy Reid. It's really almost impossible. And most interesting enough, though, it's all, how many times have we seen a team where we're like, oh, this team's a dynasty. This team's going to win 2, 3, and they win 1, and that's it. And then the next year, everything changes. For example, the Seattle Seahawks several years ago when they had that Legion of Boom and all that, and they only won 1. They should have won 2. But anyways, they goofed. The point is that no matter how good of a defense you have sometimes, even an MVP caliber quarterback, there is no guarantee of being consistently good from year to year because of, number one, the parity, number two, free agency, and, of course, injuries. One big injury derails your whole season. So what the Chiefs are doing right now clearly
it's impressive.
Is impressive, and it is the rarity of all rarities. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at it, right? Like you talk about it, the pieces that you lose due to free agency, right? Because of injury, because of XYZ, because of anything like that can happen. There's so many factors that can go into a team not meeting their goals, not being able to be as good as they were in the past. And yet it seems just time and time again, Kansas City able to roll with these punches. And, it's one thing where you can talk about like that great offense. Shout out to Eric Bieniemy for creating an offense that you can use without having Tariq Hill in it.
He's a head coach, that guy. He's head coach in materials, but never.
How he's not a head coach?
Yeah, I mean, he should have gotten a job 2-3 years ago, but they're very lucky they have 2 head coaches at the helm. But Bieniemy is amazing.
If you're Eric Bieniemy, why don't like are you just buying your time, right? Because Andy Reid's getting up there in age. He retires, you just take over the team for him. You keep the same offense and everything in place.
I mean, it could be like another Belichick situation. The McDaniels, who ended up eventually leaving, it was like, oh, you're going to take over, 30 years from now. I mean, problem is you can't wait for these old cronies to leave because you got to kick those guys out. They're not going to leave. I mean, I don't blame them. Once they're done, you're done. You throw in the towel and, there's only so much golf you can play or movies you can watch, right?
I want to give a shout out to our guy, Tommy Carranza, who's commenting here on the statements, right? He's saying that Eric Bieniemy needs to be a head coach and saying someone needs to tell Jerry Jones that it is possible to manipulate the salary cap. That's going to be the biggest issue with the Dallas Cowboys, right? Like how we can manipulate the salary cap going forward for that team to maintain and stay competitive. Because you look at all their young talent, they've got that huge specter leaning over their shoulder of Dak Prescott's contract, right? Like that thing is enormous. It's going to be an Albatross in the next couple of years, and it's going to be really hard for the Cowboys to navigate that. Next year, though, the salary cap increases by another $16,000. If you're the Cowboys, Pollard is coming up on a contract. CeeDee Lamb in the next 2 years is going to be up on a contract. Dalton Schultz, you just franchised him. What are you going to do with that guy going forward? You got a lot of contracts on that offensive line. You got a lot of contracts on defense. And then by the time you're done with that, because it's a never-ending cycle with the NFL, you're going to have Micah Parsons, and I believe Trayvon Diggs' contract is coming up after this season as well. So you're going to have to find a way for the Dallas Cowboys to manage and manipulate this, because if there's a team that gets hurt by free agency, it looks like it's going to be that team, because they just don't manage the salary cap well.
Yeah, and as if they can afford to lose any more premier players. I mean, if I'm the Cowboys at this point, I'm somehow, some way figuring out a way to either restructure Zeke's contract or just completely say it's been fun, it's been great, but I'm going with Pollard, because to me, clearly Pollard is the better running back. He's the future. I don't let Pollard go, especially the way he is right now.
But this is the thing with Pollard is that going to be the same guy following now the ankle injury that we know?
And you never know.
Another year older, and we know that running backs are as indispensable as possible. Do you go out and draft a guy in the second round, third round, and hope that they turn out to be somebody? Because you're still going to hold on to Zeke. You have to, because you're paying the guy, I think it's $18 million this year. It's the end of his contract, so even if they do let go of Zeke this year, it'll be a dead cap hit for the Cowboys. So they're not going to have to worry about paying anything. And I know people get bored, and not me, because I love talking about salary cap, but people get bored when I talk about salary cap. If they cut Zeke this year, there's no hit to the salary cap. Had they cut him last year, it would have been a $27 million hit. That's the same thing that people are talking about with Dak Prescott, right? If you have an issue with Dak Prescott and you want to get rid of Dak Prescott, and you say, okay, well, let's cut him because he's just not the guy, right? If the Dallas Cowboys were to cut Dak Prescott today, instead of paying him the $45 million they owe him, they would owe $87 million in dead cap space.
Wow.
And then that wouldn't be the last year of it. Next year they would owe another $28 million on it. So you're handcuffed to Dak Prescott on that contract.
And I say that I don't figure that anybody could have said, unfortunately, a couple of years ago, but now based on his performance this past year, it's very questionable as to how he's going to be going forward. And if you're a Cowboys fan, you cannot have a lot of faith in Dak Prescott based on how he performed last year. I'm sorry, but unacceptable, and that's not the way you go on to
consistency is everything.
Everything. Yes,
consistency is everything.
And how often do you see a team win a Super Bowl with an inconsistent quarterback? Just to put it into perspective.
Well, I mean, you know what? I take that back. I take it back. We got Joe Flacco's out there. We got Nick Foles that are out there that have won
Super Bowl MVPs.
I am about to say, but Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls.
But remember, these guys also didn't make goofs. They were either great game managers or threw the best throw they could possibly throw in the most ideal time. They didn't goof when it all was on the line. And that's what Prescott does, is he goofs when it's all on the line. You can't do that.
Compared to the Eagles that rewrote their playbook based on wanting to keep Nick Foles in the pocket, allowing them to win that Super Bowl.
The Philly special shtick. I love that one.
It's like gimmick plays. As it come down to gimmick plays for the Eagles to win a Super Bowl, that garbage ass franchise.
They still won it though.
I guess.
I guess. But
I'm just mad. They should have never. You know what? I think what it is, I'm projecting because my friends, James Steele, who's a Kansas City Chiefs fan, Pat Costello, who's a Philadelphia Eagles fan, they're dumping on me because my team didn't make it to the Super Bowl. It's been another 28 years of heartbreak that I've had with the Dallas Cowboys. I think I'm just projecting onto everyone else my anger of the Philadelphia Eagles winning a Super Bowl. They should have never beat Tom Brady. Thomas Edward Brady should have 8 Super Bowls to his name right now. He just retired. I think I'm just sad about it.
Ryan Reynolds. Sand from that if you want.
People are stupid.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. That is the stupidest. Who would pay $100,000 for sand?
As much as I love and respect Tom Brady, I ain't buying sand from where he announced his retirement.
I saw a shtick. You could spend. Let's see, they're asking $100,000 for sand. You could spend about $98,000 less to fly your ass over to Florida and get a bunch of sand yourself and save $98,000. I mean, who in their right mind buys sand, for crying out loud, that he stood on for his retirement? That's stupid. You have too much money, people.
I saw a thing for sale on eBay because I like doing collectibles and stuff like that. It was a remnants of the former Texas Stadium where the Cowboys played, and a part of me was
a urinal or what?
Well, it was a part of a seat or something like that, right? Not even the full seat, a part of the seat. And I thought to myself, man, that would be something dumb to buy. Well, like, as much as I love the Cowboys, that would be something
So what do you mean
dumb.
part? Like the back of the seat, the Tookus part? What part of the
I
seat?
don't even know. It's like it showed the whole
Who buys
seat.
part of a seat.
It showed the whole seat, but the advertisement, or like whenever you clicked on the link, you started reading. It was like, oh no, it's only like a part of the seat that we will give your way for like $300. I'm not buying a part of a chair.
Like my brother, he owns like an actual seat from the old Comiskey Park. The whole seat, though.
Oh,
That's
okay.
cool as hell. I mean,
No,
I pay a lot of money for that, being a White Sox fan, but don't sell me like the metal and tell me I'm buying a novelty here.
Piece of shit.
You know,
stadium.
these schmucks. You know what I mean? These people, they have too much money to
Oh,
spend.
way too much money. Our guy Tommy Cananto saying running back should be drafted every couple of years. No more big second contracts for running backs. I think that that's the case, right? Like, whenever you look at a running back's lifespan, 3.5 years in the NFL.
Right.
That's not anything that you want to put money on. And I was listening to a podcast yesterday, Emmitt Smith out on Radio Row, for the Super Bowl, promoting his tequila, which I really want to try. I didn't know Emmitt Smith had a tequila.
I didn't either.
By the way.
That's cool. That's another former cowboy with either some sort of alcohol, right?
Try Elite 8 Light Lager, available at Albertsons and Total Wine and More. Thank you, Troy Aikman. You owe me so much money for this free advertisement I've been giving you on your beer. But Tommy Cananto saying, look, you got to cut these guys because of running backs, right? Emmitt Smith is saying, how about you give a guy a shot? I didn't know this about Emmitt Smith's first year. His first 6 games of his rookie year, he only carried the ball 12 times a game because they had a split backfield.
I didn't know that either.
Had he not been given the opportunity to actually carry the ball as much as he does, who knows what that's going to be, right? Like, he retires as the greatest running back of all time, at least in my opinion. I might be biased, right? But we're not seeing running backs get valued anymore. It's a receiving game. It's all about this other stuff. And then you got like gimmick guys out there that are Deebo Samuels that are a running back or that are a receiver, but can also play running back at times.
Well, running back's not going to be there for 20 years. And I know that it's a rarity when you have a Brady lasting 20-something years, but that's the difference is that, your quarterback is your quarterback. He is, it's the most important position, arguably, in all of sports. And that's just the thing is that the running backs aren't protected like the QBs, and they just don't have that longevity, unfortunately, for their careers. Sure.
Devontae Turpin, what's his role? Because he was explosive when he started, able to, right at kickoff, give the Cowboys enviable field position.
So Turpin is a receiver. I think that they need to treat Turpin kind of the same way that San Francisco treats Deebo Samuel. Put him in the backfield.
A dual athlete, a dual threat.
Give him the opportunity to have the ball in his hands, because a guy with that, you cannot teach speed.
No.
Right? Like you got a guy.
Kickoffs.
Yeah.
He's your receiver. He's everything.
I would have loved to have seen him on the field as a receiver, but just not seeing him there makes me realize that maybe the coaching staff knows that this guy cannot catch a ball.
Sure.
Right? Like, you can catch a kickoff or a kickoff and a punt return is completely different.
I mean, if
than
you're
catching
never
a football.
utilizing that situation, you would think that.
And then like the Cowboys are actually pretty deep in the receiving core
Absolutely.
anyway.
They have a lot of them.
Yeah.
they have four, good receivers.
Yes,
Washington
and Turpin at the best was a 5th receiver.
Yeah, and you'll never get any playing time. Like that,
So,
especially with Lamb's emergence this year.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how the Cowboys utilize him going forward. Maybe you hold on to Pollard, you let Zeke walk.
I would.
Right?
That's just what
and
I
then
would do.
you use a dual backfield of having Turpin in the backfield, kind of the Deebo Samuel type. Whenever San Francisco would have CMC, Christian McCaffrey in the back with Deebo Samuel, right? So maybe that'll be the route that you try to go here. Our guy Tommy Cananto also going on to say, if we won Super Bowls based on regular season statistics, Dak Prescott would be a Hall of Famer right now. I want to see more consistency out of him. He is the all-time leading rusher and probably always will be, talking about Emmitt Smith. So, yeah, he's the greatest of all time. My only debate there with the whole Emmitt Smith thing is, Emmitt Smith's career lasted a lot longer. But if Barry Sanders wasn't in Detroit, imagine what his yards would have been. Yeah. Right.
He had a mediocre team.
To me, it's subjective, right?
Yeah,
it's super subjective. But Emmitt Smith's going to be the greatest of all time because stats-wise, he is.
You have the record. I mean, the record speaks for itself. You also had almost every player on the offensive line was a Pro Bowler. So, I mean, you had the greatest line, arguably, one of the greatest lines in NFL history, hands down. And the fact is, you were surrounded by all Pro Bowlers and had one of the greatest teams in NFL history. So that adds to your longevity, and that adds to your greatness overall. But I mean, what Sanders did in Detroit was nothing short of a miracle, because they were garbage the whole time he was there.
No, I mean, they made one playoff appearance. They made it to an NFC
91.
They made it to an NFC Championship game, lost to the Dallas Cowboys.
I remember that.
Yeah. So Tommy Cananto also going on to say Mike McCarthy needs to do a better job of using his weapons like Pollard and Turpin better than Kellen Moore did. I think that's the main thing that we got to look at, right? Like, Kellen Moore's offense got very predictable, especially in the high pressure moments, right? Yeah. So to me, whenever defenses know what you're going to do, and that's kind of what made Dak look bad in those moments, I think, as well, right? Like it's not just one singular thing; it's like a layering of things, right? Like a lasagna of horrid football play is what the Dallas Cowboys gave us, just layer upon layer of just nonsense and stupidity. But Mike McCarthy now, he's the guy that's going to be calling plays. It's his head on the table this year, right? Like if the Cowboys, make it to the playoffs, lose in the first round, he's done. The Cowboys don't make a playoffs, he's done. I honestly feel the Dallas Cowboys can make a Super Bowl and lose, and he's done, right? Like it's either everything or nothing when it comes to Mike McCarthy. And I feel like we've got to see something out of him because I think his MO over the last decade and a half has been, I cannot make or I will not take the risks when I need to. And that's part of what drove him out of Green Bay.
Or the risks that you
also,
take are
I wouldn't
stupid.
want to be in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers either.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, that whole debacle. But I mean, or the he's a gambling man. I mean, and that's the thing about gambling is you're going to win and you're going to lose. But in the end, ultimately, it's a matter of some of the gambles. A lot of the gambles, as far as I'm concerned, just don't pay off, and they're just bad, calculated gambles. I mean, for whatever it's worth, I mean, like, for example, at Green Bay, where they chose not to kick the field goal, and I know he knows that stadium better than a lot of coaches, but, it didn't pay off, obviously. So, I mean, point is, though, is that, if you're going to be a gambling coach, you better win more often than not.
You could be like Riverboat Ron.
Yeah, exactly. I love Riverboat Ron. What a great name for Rivera, too,
I'll say, I don't give a shit about anything. Let's just see what happens. Right? Like, I love that. And then 0 expectations on the Washington football team. Thank you very much. I want to give a shout out to our waitress. She's doing a phenomenal job here, taking care of us at Union Drafthouse. Remember, they got the 100 beers on tap. Brandon, I want to try every single one of those beers with you.
Oh, I believe we will. Definitely. Why not? I mean, I kind of just go with you.
Okay, so she's sitting over there talking very far away from the microphone. Let us know what you got.
So whenever you guys come in, you guys can ask for a punch card. We do have 100 beers on draft, like they just said. And each time you try a new beer, you get a punch card. When you fill that punch card out, you guys can get a coin, and you guys can become a Century member and get 10 or 15% off your receipt.
I can see you as a Century member.
I mean, good. I'm a borderline alcoholic, so I might be able to do those 100 beers in one day. I want to give a shout out to Cass, our waitress, for doing a phenomenal job taking care of us over here on Fire and Ice. Remember, Union Drafthouse, 730 Sunland Park Drive. Come on out here. Check out the great specials they've got. Brandon, $2 pizzas until 4 o'clock today.
Oh, it's a good grease. We're going to get one.
And then what do they got later on tonight?
UFC 284. You can come and enjoy. I mean, look, who doesn't want to watch a little UFC? No cover charge. Got a good card going on this evening. Enjoy yourself. Have a great time. I mean, why not? There's just so much going on today. Super Bowl weekend. Excited. Going to be packed tomorrow. First come, first serve for that, too.
5 locations. There's about to be 5 locations, Brandon. We got the one here on Sunland Park. We got another one up on the Canyons. We've got one on the east side of El Paso. And the far east side, I guess 4 locations would be what it is. I'm bad at math. I don't math very well. And then there's going to be the one down in Horizon as well. Like, I mean, anywhere you want to go in El Paso, you got a Union Drafthouse right down the road from you. I might go to ours for the UFC, even though I don't watch the UFC.
You don't?
I don't.
You could enjoy yourself, though.
I want to be
more beer.
I think I'd be more into the UFC if they had like a splash zone, right? Yeah. So you get like the parka you get at SeaWorld, and you know you're gonna get wet, but it's just full of blood. Like, I think that would be my thing.
I was going to say, was it a Shamu there or what? The splash zone. I'm thinking splash zone, not in the way you were thinking, but okay.
You were thinking about sweat, weren't you?
I was interesting.
What big burly man can sweat on Brandon?
Are we watching sumo wrestling here or what? This is cool. This just sounds phenomenal.
Brandon, we went from talking about the Super Bowl to talking about the Dallas Cowboys, and that tells you just kind of where we are as individuals here, right? Like, I'm all about the Super Bowl. I love me some football. Like, it just injected into my veins, right? We're at the end now. We're about to have our climax of our 8-month-long coital session with the NFL and with football. We're going to be covered in our shame glaze once again. But I also feel like I have nothing in this game at all that gets me like amped up for it, other than seeing the two best teams in the NFL.
Yeah, the commercials, the halftime
The
show.
commercials
I
have
mean,
been so bad.
Well,
recently.
there should be supposed to be a Breaking Bad one. I'm looking forward to seeing that when Heisenberg's back. But yeah, I mean, look, we don't have a dog in the fight, you know. I mean, we give a shit about either one of these teams, and I mean, it also makes it a little more interesting if you ever have a dog in the fight, or you at least have a team you kind of semi-root for, someone that roots for. But look, bottom line is, I'm just hoping for a close game, because there's nothing worse, as I talked about, than a boring, long, dragged out Super Bowl. And I'm just hoping that the script works out well and that we're seeing a close game. And I have a feeling that's going to be the case. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely anticlimactic for you and I.
But it's good that you bring up other things that surround the Super Bowl, like the Cowboys, because it puts the Super Bowl in perspective and accounts for how we got to this point.
It's really hard to win those things. Once again, like statistic-wise, in a utopian world, your team would win one Super Bowl every 32 years. That is utopia.
Yeah.
Your team would win the Super Bowl once every 32 years.
Wow.
Think about that, right? We're almost there.
Yeah.
We're almost there, Brandon.
We've got a few years to go. We're getting there.
Daver's team had to wait 54 years to win their first Super Bowl. That's not a dig at you. I'm just,
The
I was
Chiefs.
just impressed with the creativity behind how the Eagles actually carried it off.
Well, I mean, once again, you need gimmick plays because you're not a good football team to win a Super Bowl. That's what the Eagles had to do. Garbage ass squad.
Hey, they still won, though. They still won, man. I mean, hey, I give them all the crap you want, but that's pretty funny you say that.
God, I have so much vitriol in my soul against the Eagles. It's weird, man.
Very big Eagle hater. And you know what? I will say this, and I don't want to talk about the Cowboys anymore because they're terrible and they're garbage. But it'd be nice, even if you don't win a Super Bowl, to at least be more competitive. That's what what people really miss more than anything, is having that chance to at least win a Super Bowl, be competitive, make it to the next round, make it to the NFC Championship game. Just, hey, hell, even make it a possible appearance in the next 25 years in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. Emily Mendez saying, "Boo, Brandon, go Chiefs." So you're already making enemies, Brandon.
That happens. I've made a few of those over the years.
So what was our bet? I believe was it the double or nothing? Because I know you already owe me a grease.
Yeah, I do owe you a grease. I do. You know what? I've decided that I'm going to make this really big schmuck bet. So let's go double or nothing on our grease. What do you think about that? I got Philly. You got KC.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, Dave?
I'm holding my breath in the hope that the game doesn't come down to one stupid call.
You know what? I want it to be one stupid call. I want it to be so bad of a call, kind of like whenever we had the Saints and the Rams, right? That obvious pass interference, and I want that call to be against Philadelphia. No, but once again, not.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
I got one other question. And it goes to Brandon's point about how these teams need to be more competitive. Do you feel that how the rules of the game have changed? Is that a limiting factor? Are the referees well trained enough in the new rules that may be on the book, and as a result, are these players playing it safe because they don't want penalties?
Well, that's a good. I mean, you want to take that? You want me to take that first? All right.
So I'll let you go.
Okay.
First.
I mean, all I got to say is that the officials are garbage, absolute garbage. The officiating is unacceptable. And that's why a lot of people argue, hey, this game's rigged, because you have a multi-billion-dollar game that means so much to so many people, and yet, long story short, you have a friggin' situation where there's so many piss poor calls, especially in the most meaningful games and at the most meaningful times of these games. So, look, I'll tell you what, you're never going to make a barbaric game safe. And if you try and do it, it's going to be literally impossible. You can't take the extreme violence out of a violent sport. No matter how safe you try to make it, it's always going to be a very violent sport. That's why people watch it. People don't want to watch flag football for a reason, right, Tip?
I mean, I actually watched that game.
I did too, but it's still garbage. I don't give a shit about a Pro Bowl with flag football.
I watched all three flag football.
We had nothing else to watch.
You know what I mean? Which means the refs wouldn't know today how to officiate a game that involves, say, Dick Butkus.
Oh, man. Imagine that, huh? Imagine that.
Well, you see, that's on us as fans, right? Like, we wanted all these changes. All that stuff comes to me. So
but
this,
we don't,
I let you go first because now I'm going to let you know this, right? Boy. I don't agree with you about officiating being garbage. I think these guys are doing a phenomenal job. I think if any one of us were on that field, we would fuck up so badly. It would not even be funny.
They have instant replay.
But not everything is an instant replay available type call. And that's where I think the one issue is, right? Everything should be allowed to be at least reviewed, so that way we can make sure we got the right call. But my thing with everything that goes on in like the game, right? It's so fast. These guys are bigger, faster, stronger than what we saw when we were growing up, right? DeMarcus Ware was interviewed on a podcast the other day talking about, if he had the opportunity to still come into the NFL. This is a guy that just got in the Hall of Fame, been out of the NFL for 6 years. If he had the opportunity to come back to the NFL, would he? And he said that he was in an elevator standing next to Dexter Lawrence, who was like the third defensive end on the New York Giants, who was 6'4" and 275 of just nothing but muscle. And he said that whenever he saw Dexter Lawrence have to turn to the side to walk out of the elevator, he thought to himself, there's no way in hell I'd be able to make it in today's game. That's 6 years removed. These guys are bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, they're knocking each other, hitting
Better
the hell
steroids
out of each other. Yeah,
it's true.
I said it a bunch of times. I want my sports to have more
Yeah,
steroids.
you need more steroids. It makes it more fun. That's
And at
all.
least the players today are not as foolish about their health as Bill Refrigerator Perry was.
Well,
Bill-
yeah, he
Bill
enjoyed his
Perry.
nauseous, didn't he, William? Yeah, he sure did.
Gilbert Brown. You remember him?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
Wasn't
Little
he the
Gilbert
big
Brown.
heavy-set fella?
Yes, he was.
He wasn't missing no meals, was he?
No, he was, I think, 450 pounds,
Green
man.
Bay, right?
Vince Wilfork,
That
too.
boy, he was
yeah.
a big boy, you know?
Vince Wilfork had it in his name.
You'd be
Fork.
like,
He never
damn,
pushed
son,
him
the
back.
buffet's that way, man. What are you doing on the football field?
His favorite day was every game day, all the catering and everything that went on with that, man. It was a good old time. Your
shoot.
boy's never missing a meal.
He ain't never missed a meal. That's for damn sure. You know, that's hilarious, man.
Tommy Canazzo saying refs won't screw these two teams. They don't have stars on their helmets. Yeah, it does seem like we get a lot of bad calls. And then also saying hashtag more roids. I'm about it. Give me
the roids.
Yeah,
Give me roids. Hey, look, if you ain't
I
taking
want-
roids, you ain't trying. That's all I gotta say.
I want baseball with as much steroids as possible.
Give
I
me
want
baseball.
like
Give me
7,000
baseball.
foot home runs.
Yeah, I want. Look, that's the thing. Okay, you could either be a moron and put your head in the sand like an ostrich and act like it's not going on or hasn't been going on since the dawn of sports, or you can be a person that looks at things from an honest perspective, and that's it. PEDs make sports more entertaining. It's what we love about sports is PEDs and steroids. And anybody that wants to disagree with me, you're a putz, and you know it. That's all I have to say. You know you love all the performances. Why do you think you love the performances? Because of performance-enhancing drugs. That's it.
I feel like we need like a American flag waving behind you as you say that with like a bald eagle on your shoulder.
This is my thoughts.
That was the most
Start
America
throwing-
thing I've ever heard in my life.
Start throwing tomatoes at me. No, what?
I'm surprised you didn't get a standing ovation from the crowd out here,
I
man.
don't
Like
think they were paying attention to me.
it should have been that way.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, man.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Thank you.
I've never like
What about medical oversight because of
these guys don't care about
give
their
a shit
health.
about medical
Yeah.
oversight. They
As-
know they're once their careers are over, they're going to be limping, unfortunately, the rest of their lives. I mean, that's just the way it is when you play a sport like that. But
You can ask
know.
any football player, knowing what you have with the CTE issues, knowing like DeMar Hamlin, knowing you can die on the football
they
field.
don't care. They want
Would
to play
you
the
do it
game.
again?
Yes.
And to a T, all of them would be like,
Yes,
of course I
absolutely.
would.
Because
It's
that's
a
the risk you're
gladiator
taking.
sport, yeah.
I mean, when you love and when you're as good at that, something like that, you love it as much as you do. You know the risks, and you're going to take those risks, and that's it.
Like I said, like I'm 38 years old, knocking back a whole bunch of. Oh, wow, I'm about to be 39. That just dawned on me right now.
February. pretty
Yeah.
soon, a couple
Oh,
weeks
yeah.
now,
Yeah.
buddy.
In February, whenever February shows up, I'll be.
Next Saturday's your birthday. You
I don't
think
know about
forgot?
that. Wow, it's actually next Friday. So you
Oh,
did.
sorry.
Look at this guy. Wow.
Sorry. It was the day off.
He's-
When's my birthday?
You talk about being a
Let's see if
putz.
you remember my birthday.
Your birthday is July 14th,
That's
isn't
what
it?
I thought. It's in October. I still love you.
Man, you didn't get the joke. My God.
Oh, that's Flag Day, isn't it? God, it was my grandpa's birthday.
It's Arbor Day.
Yeah.
I was born on Arbor Day. I'm an Arbor Day baby.
Oh, boy. My buddy, I love you.
But anyway, like I'm like 38, 39. I would love to be around another 30 years. Knock on wood, I am, but I'm also, I realize that the things I've done to my body in 30 years, whenever I'm 69, 70 years old, I know I'm going to be limping around. I know it's going to be hell, but you know what I'm also going to say? God damn, it was worth it.
It was sure fun. I sure fun going around this circle, right?
Yeah.
I lived life to the fullest. That's the only way to do it, right, buddy?
The
We've had a lot of good greases, you and I.
I know I have to stop drinking whatever age I get my first hangover. I'm like, oh my God, this is what people have been talking about because this doesn't need to happen anymore. That's when you start slowing it down.
The ship has sailed, man.
39 never had a hangover. So
Hey,
I'm going to
ain't
keep
nothing
going.
wrong with that. My
Yeah.
boy can, he can hang there with anybody. That's why I
Gross.
love you. So my buddy's about to have another birthday.
That's the reason why you love me, because I can hang with anybody. I like that. I like it
You're
at
an
all.
entertaining fella. You always bring a laugh to my face.
Our guy Tommy Cananza, he just had a birthday. Happy birthday to you as well. He was talking about guys like Larry Allen. Could you imagine like Larry Allen in today's NFL? Well, like the technology and the like PEDs, what that guy would be. He was in the 90s in what seems like the caveman era of football, bench pressing 700 pounds.
I know. That'd be amazing. It'd be phenomenal. Unbelievable.
I don't even know if they had weights that went up to 700. I think it just had to be like 2 offensive linemen.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. No doubt.
Okay.
Boy.
So we saw all the NFL awards. We got the Super Bowl going. Brandon and I will have our double or nothing bet coming up as well. I think, Daver, obviously you think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win.
By a very close margin, hopefully not a lousy call.
See, this hurts my heart with the vitriol that I have towards the Philadelphia Eagles because Daver's such a good dude. But like, I think any other Eagles fan would have been like, yeah, we got this in the bag. It's no problem whatsoever. Like, this, the level of confidence and cockiness that is there. And Daver's like, you know what? I hope it's going to be a good game. I love that about you, Daver. You're a good dude. You're
Yes, you are.
a
Yes, you
legitimate
are.
good dude. I'm an asshole. I hope your team
Yes,
loses.
you are. Very nice of you.
That's
It
why
is.
I decided I just don't want to bet.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on that. Like, there's times, Brandon, where I'll be like, you know what, I should have bet on these games because I'm right. Like, a lot of the times I'm right, but we don't have gambling in Texas. I'm glad that we don't have gambling in Texas because I think I'd be like, you know what, I'm right so much. Let me put this stack on something, and then it'll be a loss, and I'd go home sad as all hell.
Well, yeah. Sometimes you say, you wish there was more gambling, but then again, we'd be pissing away more money sometimes. So that's not a good thing.
You ever go to Vegas?
Oh, yeah,
Do you gamble when you're in Vegas?
I do. Absolutely. Sure.
So whenever I went in the NFL draft with our guy, Danny Hoban, this is the first time I'm saying, you know what, I'm going to do legalized sports gambling, just go down to the book, pay a little bit of money. The first 3 days, made tons of money, dude. So like, you know what, I'm going to take all my winnings, I'm going to put it on this because we've been on a hot streak. Guess how much I got out of that? A big old zero.
Yeah.
Took all my winnings from the gambling and came home with none of it.
Well, you still had a good time.
Well, I mean, that ruined the night.
Yeah. Well, winning a bunch of money then losing it like a schmuck. I mean, I would have put half away myself. That's just me.
Well, I did. I mean, I put some away,
Oh, good,
and
good,
that's
good.
what went to my alcohol budget.
Oh, well, that's good. I mean, we may have gone out for a good grease too. Hey,
I
speaking of
actually got together with our guy Cappy, who was out over at the NFL draft. I want to talk to him a little bit later whenever he comes back to El Paso. We can talk to him maybe next week about how it was not the NFL draft, at the Super Bowl on Radio Row. Yesterday, he got Pat McAfee, sent me a video about it. That was so cool. Congrats to my guy Steve Kaplowitz on being able to do that stuff. But I met him and Adrian over there in Vegas and drunk them under the table.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Those guys can't hang with you.
Yeah, Cappy thought he could do his thing. Can't do his thing against this guy. Anyway, Super Bowl's coming up. We already got our picks in. Hopefully it's a good game. That's all I want is a good game. Halftime performance, I don't necessarily care about. Do you care about that?
No.
Anybody? Destiny
No,
does. Some people.
Oh, just to be silly. Whatever.
But my, like,
All lip
it's,
syncing and all that. It's a
yeah,
dog and pony show.
I think the worst one was the weekend one, and there was no
Oh,
fans.
God.
And God, as long as it's not that bad, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
As long as there's no nipples coming out either, with all Janet Jackson.
Well, that has some intrigue, right? Janet Jackson. It's
Brandon,
been like 15 years already since that happened.
20.
Has it?
Fuck.
Was that 03?
Three.
Was it 03?
Yeah.
It was 20 years ago.
We're old. Holy
You're
shit.
old. Should speak for yourself.
You're older than me.
You're about to be 39. Yeah. Well,
You're what, 47?
44.
62? How are you older than Daver?
I don't know.
You're the oldest person in this bar. I feel like I'm talking with my grandfather.
approaching 68. I'm a multiple of somebody's age.
Still handsome though.
Yeah.
For 68. Yep.
Most good-looking 68-year-old there is out there.
Yeah, I told when I first came in with my daughter, you see that handsome fella up there with the that's Tip. She had never met you before,
Huh. Well, thank you.
Sticks out like
Thank
a
you
sore thumb, doesn't he?
Yeah, because I'm wearing orange like a
He looks like an orange
effing
Julius.
freak. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, we got the NFL honors. Patrick Mahomes, to no surprise, wins the MVP award. Looking at the NBA, because the trade deadline was down the way, a very active trade deadline. Kyrie Irving gets sent from Brooklyn over to Dallas. Then Brooklyn just having a fire sale on everybody. Kevin Durant goes from Brooklyn to what has to be the favorite to win the NBA championship right now, the Phoenix Suns. What were your thoughts on everything that happened, or have you just been injecting football into your veins?
Well, no, I mean, I was definitely watching a lot of it. That's for sure. I thought it was very intriguing. The whole Kyrie Irving thing, I mean, I'd like to think that he and Doncic will work. And I mean, to me, it's just a matter of dealing with the crap that guy will put you through. That's the problem. But certainly, if they can, mesh together well and somehow coexist together, then that could end up being a great deal for Dallas. Secondly, though, Kevin Durant, though. I mean, Phoenix, to me, being definitely the big winners in the draft deadline, because ultimately that does, a team that's already really good, albeit they haven't been as good this year in the West. But when you have CP3 and now you include Durant, one of the top 2 or 3 players in the game nowadays, and the guy that can really conform to any different position in terms of being able to go to any organization and really play for any coach and be just as good. And I feel it's a brilliant move for Phoenix. I think that's something they had to do. They were underachievers. They didn't win the championship a couple years ago, lost to Milwaukee. But man, that was huge. I mean, there were some big moves made right before the deadline. I was really excited about that.
What happens if Phoenix doesn't win the NBA title?
Keep going. I mean, there's a lot of other good teams out there. I mean, Denver will have something to say about that. And
I like the moves that the Lakers did. Like, I'm not a big
So
Lakers, but I like that they actually did some stuff to try to get better. I don't understand how teams were willing to help out the Lakers, because the Lakers seem to be handcuffed. I don't know how anyone will want to take on Russell Westbrook. The Jazz take on Russell Westbrook and then just releasing him. But, like, why are you helping a team in your division? I get it, you get some draft picks out of it, but a second-round draft pick?
That's sure. And you know what? I'll be honest. I mean, that's the thing, is that let's not, discount what the East has to offer too. I mean, clearly you have some really good, Milwaukee and Boston and some really good teams in the East that certainly are going to put up a damn good fight once the finals come about. So, is Phoenix the favorite? Sure. Are they a lead pipe cinch? No, far from it. And again, how many games are these guys going to be able to get to play together? This is already mid-February. Will the chemistry be there? But ultimately, yes. At this point in time, I look at one team that's probably my favorite. It has to be Phoenix right now.
Looking at everything around the NBA, surrounding the NBA, and all the storylines that are out there, Brandon, I'm super excited about it. You know me. I love me some basketball.
Sure.
I borderline love basketball more than I love football, which is not a thing most Texans would say, but I love me some basketball, right? I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl being over, getting, diving in head first into the NBA season next week. I've got my friend Ryan Hollins, who does play-by-play for the Houston Rockets, is going to be joining us here on Fire and Ice as well, so we can break down the things that we missed while, we were just injecting football into our veins and having a nasty love-making session with football. So that way we can get caught up on everything and then get to where we need to be, especially you, the listener, if you haven't been paying attention to the NBA all that much, so we can get where we want to be getting ready for the NBA season. Brandon, the NCAA tournament's right around the corner as well.
Yes.
How about them UTEP Miners?
Yeah, how about them Miners? Garbage as usual. Some things never change. And how about the New Mexico State football or basketball program?
What the hell happened there
last night? The hazing and the whole program. No more games this year. I mean,
I've never seen a coaching staff
placed on administrative leave. The whole staff
suspended. It's weird.
Boy, how the mighty have fallen, especially since Chris Jans departed, huh?
Well, yeah, I guess.
But wow, what a horrible situation. I mean, it's been nothing but bad things happening to that program this year. You know what I mean?
Nothing but bad things happening to that program. But you know what, Brandon? Nothing but good things happening here at Union Drafthouse. We got the $2 pizzas until 4 o'clock today. They've got the UFC, and then Brandon tomorrow.
Super Bowl.
First come, first serve over here at Union Drafthouse. Remember, you can become a member of the Century Club. I think I'm going to do that right now. That almost sounds as exclusive as the Mile High Club.
That's a club I'd like to join. We'll talk about that next show.
You can see how badly I did not want to say that, but I could not stop myself.
Why do you do that? Because you do that and you know I'm going to say something, probably inappropriate too. That's the funny part about it.
I think it works well together.
Yeah.
I bring out the best and worst in you.
I love you. You always say stupid shit, and I always go along with it. That's why you love me so much. Someone needs to agree with you.
Yeah, there we go. So, well, I mean, we very rarely agree on anything.
Yeah, but we do bounce well off each other, though. It's pretty funny.
So even that right there, where you're like, someone has to agree with you. No, they don't.
I know.
That's the way that
I
our
love
relationship
my buddy
is.
the tip.
8 years, Brandon, of us being able to just do all this nonsense and bullshit that we've been doing.
I
got nothing but love for you, my guy.
Buddy.
Everybody enjoy the Super Bowl, enjoy all the festivities. I want to see pictures of all the food and nonsense that people are just injecting into their veins over the next 24 hours. Brandon, our friends over here at Union Drafthouse. I want to give a big thank you to them. And, of course, most importantly, our friends over at Three Missions Brewery. They sponsor the show. They help us out all the time. They've got a brand new beer called the Moon City Japanese Blue Lager. I don't know if you saw the video I put up on Instagram at Mr.
Yeah,
Tipton
last
33.
week you showed us the video.
An absolutely beautiful
good.
blue beer, delicious. I can't wait to go out there and try another one. So try that at Three Missions Brewery, 10179 Socorro Road. And, of course, Elite 8 Light Lager, just because I'm an asshole and it's my new gimmick, Elite 8 Light Lager. Go get it anywhere. And as always, got nothing but love for you, everybody.
Thanks, brother.
We will see you all next week. Daver, I hope your team loses.
Well, we'll see.